Heracles, more popularly known as Hercules, is famously celebrated not only for his extraordinary heroic deeds, but also for being the most notorious illegitimate son of Zeus, the god well known for his romantic escapades. The term illegitimate is not meant to offend. It simply points out his complex origin, an origin that sheds light on the complicated moral landscape inhabited by both gods and mortals. Recognizing one's heritage and fully embracing it can provide protection against the judgments and criticisms of others. Hercules' birth was a result of Zeus's unbridled affair, which took place outside his marriage to Hera, and this reflects the twisted sense of morality that the gods often displayed. Zeus, possibly feeling a bit guilty or perhaps being manipulative, named his son Heracles, translating to the glory of Hera, presumably to appease his wife Hera, whom he had betrayed. However, this move can be seen as incredibly bold. It almost feels like Zeus was intensifying the insult by naming the evidence of his unfaithfulness after his wife, a constant reminder of his betrayal. Originally, before receiving the name Heracles from his father, he was called Alcaeus. This name later evolved into the figure known as Hercules, adapted by the Romans. But looking beyond the names and myths, Hercules was a man full of contradictions. While many recognize him for his heroic feats, such as defeating monstrous creatures and completing nearly impossible tasks, Hercules also exhibited a much darker side. He was prone to destructive rages, which tragically led him to murdering his own wife and children. This part of his story is more horrific than any narrative of a modern-day serial killer that might capture public interest on television. Moreover, his numerous romantic conquests and affairs would likely have impressed even his notoriously unfaithful father, Zeus. Yet, despite these grave misdeeds, Hercules also had moments where he truly behaved like a hero. One of the most discussed tales is how he supposedly fathered 50 children over 50 consecutive nights, demonstrating not only his legendary physical strength, but also an extraordinary level of endurance. The story of Heracles begins with an act that, even by divine standards, is shocking. Zeus, not satisfied with mere mortal affairs, turned his attention to Alcmene, his great-granddaughter. In a disturbing move, he disguised himself as her husband, who was away at war, to seduce her. This deception led to Heracles' birth. The revelation left her actual husband, upon returning home and discovering his pregnant wife, bewildered and deeply humiliated. The term cuckold describes the husband, a word that conveys betrayal and public embarrassment. The king, upon discovering his wife's condition and the true nature of the conception, was justifiably upset. However, Zeus explained that Alcmene was expecting twins, one of whom was the king's legitimate child, thereby somewhat mitigating the scandal with a promise of a rightful heir mixed with the product of divine interference. Heracles was originally destined to become the king of Myk. However, he turned into just another piece in the cosmic game of control and rivalry among the gods. High up on Mount Olympus, Hera, overhearing that Zeus's latest romantic exploit would result in a new king, scoffed at the news. "The next king of Myk, really?" she remarked sarcastically, already plotting how to turn the tides against this unwanted future monarch. Hera, ever the schemer, shared her plan with her daughter Lithia, the goddess responsible for childbirth. She told her, "Listen, my dear, the next child from Zeus's other tangled web of relationships is set to inherit a kingdom, and I would prefer that it's not his newest born child out of wedlock." Lithia, somewhat taken aback by her mother's harsh choice of words, suggested a more modern approach. "Mom, let's use kinder words. We say children born out of wedlock now." But Hera, not one to mince words or soften her approach by anyone, insisted, "Ensure that Heracles' cousin is born first, and really, Herac, by a way of name, my glory, Could Zeus be any more self-serving? Lithia, following her mother's directive, cleverly manipulated the timing of the births. She delayed the arrival of Heracles and his twin brother just long enough for their cousin, a boy named Iphicles, to be born first and secure the throne of Myk. This cousin, who would otherwise be a footnote in the grand narrative, much like the less famous third Hemsworth brother, was now set to become a king. Yet, even with the throne succession secured, Hera's thirst for vengeance wasn't quenched. Known for her harsh actions, like the time she threw her own unsightly child off a cliff, she now plotted something even darker: infanticide. She sent 2 serpents to end Heracles' life in his crib. However, displaying an unnerving hint of his future brutal capabilities, baby Heracles strangled those serpents with his bare hands. Alcmene, the mother of Heracles, was naturally terrified by the attempt on her infant son's life. She swore to do whatever it took to protect him, which led to her taking an extreme measure. She decided to hide her son away from those who might wish him harm. In a debatable twist on protection, she left him in the forest, a move that might raise eyebrows by way of a protective strategy. Despite these dangers, Heracles was not left to the elements or wild animals. Instead, he was discovered and nurtured by none other than 2 goddesses, Athena and Hera, the latter being the very goddess who had orchestrated the assassination attempt. This turn of events adds a rich layer of irony to the tale. Hera, after failing to recognize the infant by way of the target or her murderous plot, ended up caring for him. This absurd oversight could suggest that maybe all infants look alike from the gods' lofty vantage point on Mount Olympus. Athena and Hera, perhaps impressed by the child's resilience or charmed by his innocence, decided to bestow upon him gifts that would define his future. Athena granted him unparalleled bravery and cleverness, while Hera, in a bizarre act of inadvertent kindness, fed him her divine breast milk, thereby enhancing his supernatural strength even further. In the celestial dramas where gods manipulate from on high, baby Heracles became exceptionally strong, all thanks to Hera's divine breast milk. This wasn't ordinary nourishment, it was a potent elixir that elevated Heracles' strength to a divine level, distinguishing him from his fellow demigods. In fact, it was so powerful that as he nursed directly from Hera, he grew stronger every second. His strength increased to such a degree that he accidentally caused Hera considerable pain by biting down too hard on her nipple, forcing her to pull away abruptly. This action led to a stream of her milk spraying across the sky, giving birth to what we now call the Milky Way. Nursing her soreness, Hera's temper rekindled, and upon recognizing the infant she had once tried to eliminate, her old grudges resurfaced. Before Hera could act on her renewed anger, Athena, observing the strange familial interactions, acknowledged Heracles as her half-brother, a fellow byproduct of Zeus's infidelities. She vowed to protect him, welcoming him into an exclusive club of Zeus's illegitimate children. However, Athena's interest in her new brother waned quickly, and she soon returned him to Alcmene, the mother who had earlier abandoned him in the woods. This return to his mother wasn't particularly redemptive for Alcmene, since Heracles was already shielded by Athena's blessings and his formidable strength. Basically, Heracles was safe and nearly invincible by then, making any maternal protection almost redundant. Growing up, Heracles was educated by a series of distinguished mentors, including philosophers, kings, and various masters of the martial arts, each imparting essential skills and wisdom necessary for his complex life. Despite his gratitude, Heracles had a rather intense way of expressing his appreciation. When his music teacher once reprimanded him over a minor mistake, Heracles responded not with remorse but with rage, killing his teacher by smashing his head with the musical instrument he was supposed to be learning. This gruesome reaction led to a trial for murder, where he was eventually acquitted on the grounds of self-defense. The teacher had hit him first with a stick. However, this violent act changed how people viewed him, instilling fear and caution in those around him. This shift prompted Zeus to decide when it was time for Heracles to embark on a journey meant to challenge him and teach him independence and responsibility. Zeus's plan for Heracles involved managing a simple cattle farm in Thespia, a stark contrast to his tumultuous upbringing. This pastoral life took a dramatic turn when Heracles met two women who represented starkly different life choices. One embodied purity and grace, the kind of woman one would proudly introduce to their family, while the other, named Thana, epitomized indulgence and ease, ordering a life of comfort, free from labor, but filled with pleasure. Thana tempted Heracles with promises of an easy life, while the virtuous woman urged him to choose a path of hard work and ethical victories. Heracles, swayed by the call to virtue, chose the harder path and dismissed Thana. His choice of virtue was immediately tested when a lion started terrorizing the local farms. In response, King Thespius offered Heracles a daunting reward. If he could defeat the lion, he could marry any of his 50 daughters. For 50 nights, Heracles pursued the lion, spending each night with a different daughter, which led not only to the lion's defeat, but also to an expansive family of his own. After this, Heracles fully embraced his role as a hero, helping those in need and moving away from his life as a farmer. His heroics led him to Thebes, a city suffering under the weight of defeat and oppression. The people there, desperate for a savior, sought Heracles' help. Grateful for his victory over their oppressors, the king offered his daughter's hand in marriage to Heracles. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life. He married Miara, and together they had 3 sons, with Heracles transitioning from a reckless youth to a responsible husband and father. But any semblance to a peaceful life was short-lived. Hera, still bitter and resentful, cast a spell of madness over Heracles, causing him to see enemies in his own beloved family. In a tragic frenzy, he killed his wife and children, only to regain his senses too late, surrounded by the devastation he had wrought. The horror of his actions plunged him into a deep depression, during which he wandered the lands aimlessly until the god Apollo, offering a path to redemption, directed him to seek guidance from the Oracle of Delphi. Heracles, during his battle against the Hydra, a creature that multiplied its heads with each one severed, Heracles first tried to overpower the beast using brute force. This method only aggravated the situation, multiplying the Hydra's threat as every severed head was replaced by 2 new ones. Amid this chaotic skirmish, Heracles' ally Greek Amin intervened with a crucial strategy. He suggested that Heracles should cauterize the stumps after beheading each head to prevent new growth. This shift in tactics transformed an overwhelming fight into a manageable victory. Yet, to further challenge Heracles, Hera sent colossal crabs to assist the Hydra. Despite these new adversaries, neither the crabs nor the additional Hydra heads could stop Heracles. Eventually he triumphed, rendering the Hydra headless and the crabs defeated, significantly boosting his own notorious reputation. He then enhanced his arsenal by coating his arrows in the Hydra's toxic blood, making them lethal weapons. Upon returning to Mycenae, Heracles' fame had greatly increased. Remarkably, the tragic loss of his family seemed to have been eclipsed by his heroic deeds. As a celebrated hero, Heracles was far from finished with his endeavors. His subsequent tasks frequently involved capturing or eliminating mythical creatures, resembling a fantastical beast hunt more than traditional heroism. For instance, his missions to capture the Ceryneian hind and the Erymanthean boar promoted the domination of mythical animals, a disturbing trait that seemed prevalent in his divine heritage. Heracles' journey through these tasks was not solely focused on combat. It required cleverness and strategic thinking. Confronted with the daunting job of cleaning the Augean stables, he cleverly rerouted a river to wash away years of accumulated filth in a single day, transforming an overwhelming chore into a simple task. This ingenious solution, however, led to a conflict when the stable's king refused to honor the payment agreement, resulting in the exile of both Heracles and the king's son. This exile ignited a new conflict, with Heracles supporting the king's son and overthrowing his father, showcasing that in mythology, the concepts of justice and retribution often intertwine. The range of tasks, from seizing golden apples guarded by a dragon with 100 heads to capturing flesh-eating horses, enriched Heracles' character. These stories explore themes of cleverness, betrayal, and the intricate interplay between heroism and darker impulses. As Heracles navigated these challenges, set forth by a cousin king who became increasingly jealous and hostile, his path highlighted the whimsical cruelty of the gods and the expectations placed upon heroes. Did Heracles' deeds make him a true hero or merely a pawn of the gods? Like, comment, and subscribe to join the debate and get more thought-provoking content.